We're going to solve some free quizzes. You can go to our website, inspectortraining.com, and to API 577, Welding Inspection and Metallurgy full course, and use this button to solve our free quiz and try it. So, plus that first and second module is free, and our free quiz is part of the first module. Let's go to the quiz and solve some question. These are progress is marked here. Our time mock exam also questions are marked. Have a flag off button if you buy the full course. Question number 1. Welding inspection is a critical part of an overall quality assurance program. You can see here there is quality assurance plan, inspection program. Now the assurance plan and program normally used interchangeably, but this is a term used by API 577. So if you want to choose the best answer, it is quality assurance program. Remember that API always asks you about choose the best answer. You might find other answers to be correct as well, but always choose the best one. And also remember that all activities are part of a program. Welding inspection includes much more than just the non-destructive examination of completed weld. So this is of a statement. Many other issues are important, and they include all of the below except. So you have to find the wrong statement. Review of specs and welding procedures. Yes, that's what welding inspector does. Review of joint design, review of cleaning procedures. That's important because if the surface is not clean, you might not have a good welding. It should be free of oil, grease, water, moisture, dust, etc. Review of material verification program. So this is not specifically the inspector's duty to check the material verification program. So this could be treated as the least desirable answer. And because it says except, so you should choose this one. Welding inspection activities can be separated into 3 stages corresponding to the welding work process and include all of the following except. Now we know that the welding inspection has you have to do activities before welding, during welding, and after welding. So you're not expected as a welding inspection, part of welding inspection, to do the audits unless specifically asked. So the 3 pillars of welding inspection is before, during, and after welding, the activities that you do. What is the most important stage of welding? To assure that welding problems are avoided and changes and correction necessary are made. So there are 4 answers here, but the most appropriate answer would be the preparation and planning stage before the building job begins. Okay, you can see there are other answers, but it's always at the planning and before the building begins. You have to do certain activities to ensure that once the welding begins, at the end the job is as per the requirement and satisfaction. Prior to welding, a review of drawing, standard codes, and specification is done to understand the requirements for the welding and identify any inconsistency or ensure that the welder understands the specification and is qualified. Ensure that the drawings meet the specification. None of these are correct. So I would choose this one, and let's see the answer. That's the best answer I could have chosen. So again, choose the best answer. All of the following are quality control items to assess prior to welding, except. Now again said except, so you have to use the statement which is wrong. So dimensional check to see any distortion, weld maps that identify welding procedure, welding symbols, weld sizes. And you can see here, this looks like a very respectable and valid sentence. Perform visual welding to ensure no rejectable defects are present. But remember that here it says prior to welding, and this statement is correct, but this is after the welding, so it's not relevant to activities prior to welding. So we intended to bring this not to confuse you, but to remind you that you need to read the question very carefully before answering, whether it is relevant or not. What is it asking actually, in fact? Inspectors shall review welding procedures and qualification records prior to work to ensure that all procedures and qualification records are completed and acceptable to work. So it should not be only prepared and completed, but also acceptable to work. Now, what means acceptable to work means it should be signed off by the manufacturer. Now, the third answer, possible answer, it is signed by the engineer. Now, there are different ways of acceptance. It could be signed, stamped. There should be a manufacturer's logo and signed by somebody who is acceptable to or representing the manufacturer. So acceptable for work is a much more general term. This looks like a valid statement, but this is a better answer. All below statements are correct except. So we say except, you have to look for something which is not correct then. Welder performance qualification support the requirement for PQR. Actually, this is not a correct statement because the PQR supports the WPS, not the other way around. And if you look at the other statements, you work by deduction, they're all correct. Welder performance qualification should cover the WPS range of diameter, yes. WPS are properly qualified and meet the applicable codes, yes. Procedure qualification report are properly performed and support the WPS. So the fourth answer, possible answer, is actually exactly in reverse of the first one. And you should always remember that PQR supports the WPS. Inspector reviewing welding procedure and qualification records prior to work should address all of the following except qualify welding procedure qualification where required and any PQR needed, and witness percentage of welder qualification. Now you don't witness percentage of welder, you witness all the welder qualification. And so this is not a random check. So this was the trick here, because the third possible answer, it says also. Okay, let's go to the next question. Inspector shall review NDE information prior to inspection to confirm the NDE procedure from inspection organization are acceptable for work. That is wrong. Confirm that the NDE examiner are certified to ASNT or CP 189 or ISO 9712. So this is a much more valid statement. So we normally check on NDE 3 items. One is the examiner's qualification, one is the equipment calibration, and one is that the procedure is actually approved. Okay, so this is the last one is again the best answer that I could choose. That is the answer. Inspectors reviewing NDE information prior to work should assess all of the following quality control items. Now this is the obvious wrong answer, because you check NDE examiners are certified, you check the NDE procedures are current and accurate or acceptable or approved, you check the make sure that the NDE equipment has a valid calibration certificate. So these are the 3 items. So the equipment, you know, is new or old, it doesn't really matter. So that is the incorrect answer. And because I said except, you're looking for incorrect answer here, or not. Inspectors shall check welding equipment and instruments prior to work to confirm welding equipment and instruments operate properly and are calibrated. Okay, so this is the best answer that you could give. The others, like answer number 3 and 4, say properly operated properly, and the 4th is say calibrated, and the first one saying good condition. And this is the best answer, and hence that's the correct answer. Inspector checking welding equipment and instruments prior to work should assess all of the following quality control items except. So except means you're looking for a wrong statement as one of the duties of welding inspection. Welding machine calibration is correct. Yeah, that's true. Instruments who measure the ampere or voltage or the preheat current calibrations, that's correct. Welding consumable storage ovens operate. Yeah, because if you need to bake the electrodes or fillers, and so you check that the welding the ovens are in good condition. Welding cabinets or large quantity storage of hermetically contained exist on the job. So it says exist on the job. It looks as if it's mandatory, you know. So that's not your job. As long as it ticks all the boxes, that's good enough for welding inspection. You don't need, you cannot enforce or be judgmental or ask them to do something that is not how they do it, as long as they do, the outcome is correct. Number 14, inspectors shall check heat treatment and pressure testing procedure associated equipment prior to work in order to confirm heat treatment and pressure testing procedure associated equipment are acceptable. Okay, so this is again the best statement or the best answer, and that's hence I've corrected. I have chosen this. 15, inspector checking heat treatment, pressure testing procedure equipment prior to work should assess all of the following quality control items except. You can see that it says heat treatment procedure available, appropriate, equipment calibration correct. Yeah, that makes sense. Pressure testing equipment again appropriate, and pressure testing procedure available, that's correct. Trained personnel to perform are approved for work. These activities, heat treatment or pressure testing. Now, there is no known international certification for personnel who perform the heat treatment or pressure testing. It's normally done in-house. And apart from that, it's not a part of welding inspection duties, except to check the qualification of NDE examiners, to also check for qualification of heat treatment and pressure testing personnel as well. Okay, so that's not part of the job unless exceptionally been assigned to them. So that's the least correct answer, and hence we chose that. Inspectors shall check all materials for welding prior to work in order to ensure all of the following. So filler metal properly identified, and marked and it says except. So what is not correct here? Yeah, that's true. It should be properly identified, properly marked, and traceability is maintained as per mandatory. So API 578 PMI, positive material identification, is not mandatory. It's a recommended, and if requested or if included in the purchase order, or then it becomes mandatory. So it's not mandatory, and ensure PMI is performed if required. So this is a more appropriate statement. So, and hence I've chosen the third one. Inspectors checking materials prior to work should assess all of the following quality control items except, so let's see what you should check. Material test certificate, yes. Electrode marking, bare wire flag spool as specified, yes. Filler metal marking are visible and known to the welding organization. So it does not need to be visible. So this is like a very lame statement. So base metal marking is traceable to the material specification, yes. So we have chosen this. Remember here when you say except, use the least reasonable or unacceptable statements. Or when it says inspectors checking materials prior to work should assess all of the following quality control items except. So if you see the second, third, and fourth recording of filler and base metal traceability information is performed, yes. Base metal stamping are low stress, not detrimental to the component, yes, especially for thin bed material. PMI records supplement material traceability, confirm material construction, yes, if it is included in the purchase order. And the first one looks the least correct statement. Paint, stripping, color code, perform requirements of PFI ES 22. I'm not aware of these standards, even if doesn't look like the right statement, or unless it's mentioned in the purchase order or in some procedure that's approved by the project. Final task upon completion of development and work should include those that assure final weld quality before placing the development in service, and they include all of these except. Okay, you say, so you have to do a check of the final documentation before you place this in service. So the drawings, the procedures, the reports, ND reports, welding inspection reports. You can see that ND review, verify ND is performed on those locations and examiner's findings are acceptable. There is nothing rejectable. Identify non-conformance and defects and take immediate corrective action. Yes, that's correct. All the corrective action should be done before the final completion of the before we put the weld in service. Now, appearance and finish, you cannot be judgmental. So as long as it passes the visual test, it passes the NDE, and dimensionally it is correct, and it's the proper WPS verified welder, approved welder is used, simply because of the appearance finish, you cannot accept or reject the weld. So appearance and finish is what you do not actually, on welding inspection, you would use as a basis for accepting or rejecting the weld. Or if defects or non-conformances to a specification are found by the inspector, this should be handled when and in what manner. So identify false statement. Okay, if you can see the first three statements, it says, the first statement says, if you found any fault or any non-conformance, you should bring it at any time. the issue to the attention of take action. Inspector takes if the third statement says to ensure corrective action and issues before welding proceeds further, because you don't want to waste more time and money before correcting the defect or repair. Inspector brings the issues to the attention of before welding proceeds further. So these are all the same thing. And the second sentence, which is the false statement, says takes this action after his welding inspection by report issuance. So if you do this, because it always says the minute you find any welding defect, it's rejectable, immediately bring to the attention of the manufacturer so that they can correct it and then proceed. If you let them continue the work, eventually it's going to cost more time and money. It just makes sense. So thank you for listening. If you register a free account with us, you can always try all our free quizzes. It's 9 courses we have, and there are free quizzes there, and exam tips and all that. It will come to your email as well, the result of this quiz. See you on next model.